Hello and welcome to this Fotospeed video with me, Tim Jones. Today what we're going to be doing is looking at print resolution and the DPI of an image and if it actually makes any difference. Because on paper it should. So the higher the DPI, the more dots of ink the printer is going to be putting down onto the page and the crisper and sharper the image should be. Now I've read a lot of information research in this video and I can't really find any conclusive answers, to be honest. So it's a bit of a strange one. So I actually wanted to just do a real world test and to see if my eye could actually see any difference between these different settings in the printer. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to print some resolution tests on the Pro1000 here behind me, and I'm just going to print one at high and highest on a matte and a fine art glossy paper as well. So a fine art matte, which is the NST bright white, and the fine art glossy, which is the platinum gloss art fibre. And I'm just going to compare the two to see if I can actually see what is happening and what is going on, because I've read and watched a couple of things as well that apparently our eye can't really see past 1440 DPI. Now I don't know if this is true, so I'm interested just to know if this is true and if I can actually see any difference between the two, because if we're printing on highest, that's going to use quite a bit more ink than if we're printing on high as well. So obviously this is going to be a big saving, so I want to just see if there is actually a difference between the two. Okay, so let me explain DPI. So PPI is what your computer screen works in, which is pixels per inch. And usually the native PPI of most printers, so for Canons it's 300 PPI, and for Epson it's 360 PPI. Now what this means is that is the pixel data we are sending to the printer. So we are sending 300 pixels per inch to the printer through its USB cable, through its Wi-Fi as data. And it's going to process those into the dots per inch, which is the DPI. Now I've got a couple of examples I'll put up on the screen now to kind of explain what's going on. Now I've kind of gone for the extreme. So this first one here is 16 DPI. So lots of squares in there. So this is 16 dots per inch. Okay, so the next one I'm going to put up, now this is 326 DPI. So as you can see, there's quite a difference. There's more dots going down, although these are squares. There's a lot more ink going down on that page, and it's going to give a crisper image because the finer those dots going down, the better. So we're going to have a crisper image. So there's two numbers we need to look for when we're looking at the printer's specifications. If I take the Pro1000 that sat behind me today, now this has two numbers when I look at the specifications on the printer breakdown on the Canon website. One is 2400 and one of them is 1200 DPI. Now what this means is, in one direction it will keep a resolution of 1200 or 1200 DPI. Now the 2400 is the horizontal DPI and the 1200 is the vertical DPI. Now what this means practically is the printer will print at that resolution all the time, Canon say. What changes is the speed the paper goes through the printer. So what it will do is make several passes at the same point on the paper to create a higher DPI. Now the standard setting will go through quite quickly, then you've got the high and highest on the Canon. Now at the higher setting it goes through very slowly, so it's making more passes effectively. So in theory it should give a sharper print because it's increasing the DPI. This is how I understand it. But to be honest, these are just numbers to me. I don't know about yourselves if you're watching this video and you're thinking all these numbers flying around, these PPIs and DPIs, and what does it actually mean in real life? Now, when it comes down to real life test, all we want is a sharp picture, lovely colour, and probably a deep black as well for me. I really like a nice rich black. So those are the key things I want. I want to keep it sharp and I want it the best quality it can be. So Canon would lead me to believe with the Pro1000 that the best quality is going to be on the highest setting because it's going to give the highest DPI for me, which is great. That sounds logical to me. However, what I want to do is, if I can put it on highest and I can't really see any visible difference with my eye, then surely there's no really point. It's just going to use a bit more ink. So that's the point of today. So let me do some test prints and then we'll have a look and just see if I can see any differences between them. Okay, so I've made these prints. I've printed one off on the high setting on the Canon and one off on the highest setting. So in theory, the highest setting will increase that DPI for me and kind of get a better, a crisper print. Okay. Now, I found one of these resolution test charts on the internet. It's absolutely fantastic if you ever wanted to do this at home. Okay, so what I'm interested in is these bottom squares here, really. The colours and everything look fantastic. The grayscale here gives me a nice indication if my profile's neutral. So I'm quite happy with all this, and the colours look great as well. And my CMYKs down here and things like that look brilliant. Really happy with that. So what I'm looking at though is the resolution here and these fine lines. And I have to say, on the matte paper, the NST Bright White here, now I'm having to look really, really hard at these, to be honest, to see any difference on this paper between the high and highest. I would say that probably the highest is very slightly sharper. If you'd ever notice it on a real world print, is very arguable. I don't think you would. It is so slight. So let's swap over to the gloss paper, or the Platinum Gloss Art Fibre, should we say, in here. Now, again, everything looks nice and neutral in my grayscales. I've got lovely colour going on in here and everything looks as it should. I can actually see a difference between the high and highest. It is slightly sharper. I can see it with my eye. Again, it is very marginal. I've had to stare at these a long time to kind of try and see this. You're kind of getting the edited highlights here in the video. So it is very different. Now the other thing I want to look at is something called dot grain as well, to see if that's affected at all by the resolution setting, because in theory it should be. So what dot grain is, you can see the little dots of ink, a little bit of grain in film, shall we say. So can we start to see those dots of ink being laid down on this paper here? So I'm just going to use the solid squares to do this as well. And like I said, I'm just going to use my eye. I'm not going to get into any kind of flash kind of having a look. Now I would say the highest is smoother. There is less dot grain in there, so it is going to give you a smoother appearance, which is what I'd expect, to be honest. The gains by going up to highest are marginal, because at A3, at this size, at 300 PPI going into the Canon here, is very marginal difference between the two. If you'd actually see the difference in like real world, if you put a picture up on the wall, I don't know if anyone would notice. And it's slightly smoother in the dot grain as well. Again, if you put it up on the wall, I don't know if anyone would notice, because they've got nothing to compare it against. So that brings me to my last point really, that it's about what you will notice and your personal choice with these settings. If you're getting the desired results on standard or high or highest, then that's absolutely fine. It's down to you. If you want peace of mind though, that what you are printing is going to be the best the printer can produce, then put it on that maximum setting or that highest setting, because that will give you the best quality. Now, your eye might not be able to see it, but it will be doing that for you, and it will be giving you the best quality your printer can produce. So I hope that's been really useful and hopefully hasn't confused you too much about what DPIs and PPIs are. And as always, if you've enjoyed the video, please subscribe to the channel. Just click on the subscribe button below. And also, if you have any comments at all or any questions, just pop them in the comments below or drop us an email and we will get back to you. I will see you again soon. Bye bye.